Imagine stepping into the sweaty, smoke-filled streets of 1952 New York City, a place buzzing with ambition, noise, and post-war energy. Here, among the throngs of working-class hustlers and dreamers, moves Marty Mauser, a fast-talking young man with wild eyes and restless limbs. He works in the back of his uncle's shoe store, selling cheap Oxfords and loafers to uninterested customers, but his mind is always somewhere else. To the casual observer, Marty is a chaotic, charming annoyance, but beneath that brash exterior lies a man driven by a dream that no one else in the world seems to understand. Marty doesn't want to sell shoes. He doesn't want a steady paycheck or a quiet life. In a time when traditional sports dominate the headlines, Marty's heart belongs to something far more peculiar to the era: table tennis. Not as a parlor game or a hobbyist pastime, but as something greater, something that could make him a star, a legend, a name whispered with awe. He wants to be more than a footnote. He wants to be Marty Supreme, the indomitable, uncontainable force in a sport almost no one takes seriously. This is where our story begins. A frenetic plunge into ambition, ego, chaos, and asymmetric genius. From the first moment we meet Marty, he's on the move. His voice is loud, his movements urgent. He speaks rapidly, gestures wildly, and seems exhausted even when he's standing still. This is a man who has internalized the belief that he is destined for something monumental, and he's not interested in waiting for the world to catch up. In the cramped shoe store he calls his daily grind, Marty does everything but sell shoes. He pitches schemes to his best friend, outlandish ideas like creating a custom line of neon orange table tennis balls emblazoned with Marty Supreme. Nobody takes him seriously, but that's partly what fuels him. His need to be seen, to be heard, to matter. Marty's home life adds another layer of complexity. He lives with his mother, a woman whose patience is frayed but whose love for her son is obvious. She tries to anchor him, tries to convince him to consider the manager position at the shoe store when his uncle offers it, but Marty recoils at the very thought of settling into a quiet, ordinary existence. He sees that life as a prison, comfortable, predictable, and suffocating. Instead, Marty invests his energy into the underground world of ping-pong hustles, betting on games in dingy halls, and trying to convince anyone who will listen that table tennis is the next great frontier of athletic achievement. One early scene reveals the chaotic duality of Marty's life. He's at work 1 minute, selling shoes, and the next, hustling a game of pool in a crowded, smoky back room. The pool hustle starts small, just a few bucks on the line, but quickly escalates into a full-blown brawl. Drinks spill, chairs fly, and in the chaos, a gangster's beloved dog is mistakenly kidnapped. Marty flees, grinning not with fear but exhilaration. That moment tells you everything you need to know. Marty doesn't know fear, he merely knows motion. Stillness makes him frantic. It's in these early sequences that we grasp the tone of the film. Marty Supreme is not a traditional sports biopic with a clear rise, fall, and triumphant return. Instead, it mimics the insatiable, unpredictable rhythm of a ping-pong match itself. Fast, sharp, jarring, and filled with sudden reversals. You never quite know where the ball is going next, or whether Marty will win, lose, or completely disrupt the table in the process. Among the few characters who actually care about Marty, or at least tolerate him, is Rachel, a woman from his neighborhood who knows him from childhood. She's practical, warm, and embodies the kind of grounded sensibility Marty seems allergic to. Rachel wants a future, stability, and a partner with whom she can build something real. She sees something in Marty, charisma, spark, untapped potential, but also sees his self-destructive streak. Their relationship is a collision of two different rhythms, her yearning for constancy versus his relentless, headlong pursuit of the impossible. They have moments of real tenderness, but their bond is strained by Marty's inability to focus on anything that doesn't directly feed his dream. There's a scene where they retreat to a quiet corner after dinner, talking about the future, children, homes, and ordinary happiness. Marty listens, half present and half somewhere else. Every time Rachel mentions settling down, he squirms, as though the walls are closing in. He loves her, but he loves the idea of becoming someone legendary more. Rachel isn't the only person who gets caught up in Marty's orbit. Enter Kay Stone, a glamorous, slightly older actress whose Hollywood star has dimmed but whose presence still commands attention. Kay is magnetic, artful, and used to the spotlight, qualities that draw Marty like a moth to flame. Their first encounter pulsates with electricity. Kay sees in Marty a raw authenticity that eludes the facades of Tinseltown elites. Marty, for his part, is dazzled not just by her beauty, but by what she represents: glamour, success, worldliness. Their affair is lush, indulged, and dangerously intoxicating for Marty. With Kay, he feels seen, perhaps for the first time outside of his own delusions. She offers him encouragement and moments of genuine connection, but their relationship is inherently unstable. Kay lives a life of performance, always on, always watched, while Marty's life is a constant struggle between self-promotion and self-destruction. Their romance is beautiful, messy, and ultimately a reflection of Marty's larger conflict. Can someone this restless ever slow down long enough for love that demands presence? Marty's dissatisfaction with small-town life eventually becomes unbearable. He's convinced that America's table tennis scene is too limited, too provincial. What he wants is international validation. He wants to win the British Open and bring American attention to the sport. He imagines himself arriving in London, stepping onto a grand stage, and showing the world that Marty Supreme is a force to be reckoned with. It's not just about sport anymore, it's about identity and reputation. To get there, he needs money, and not a little. His uncle refuses to bankroll the idea. Rachel can barely make ends meet, let alone finance a transcontinental dream. So Marty resorts to desperate, unsavory measures. He robs his uncle's shoe store. It's a violent, impulsive act that propels him into a moral abyss even he didn't fully anticipate. But this is who Marty is. When ordinary methods fail to produce the extraordinary, he's willing to break every boundary in pursuit of his goal. With travel money finally in hand, Marty boards a transatlantic ship with his best friend and hustling partner, Dion, heading for London. But things are never so simple. Marty arrives with grand expectations, only to discover that international competition is tougher, stranger, and more complex than he imagined. The players in London are respectful, polished, and regard table tennis as a serious athletic discipline rather than a comedic sideshow. Marty is immediately out of his element and yet absolutely unbowed. Against all odds and reason, he begins to talk his way into notable matches, not necessarily because he's technically superior, but because his audacity draws curious crowds. It's in London that Marty meets Kay again, this time in an environment far removed from the Hollywood glamour she once ruled. They cross paths at a lavish hotel where Marty, entirely unprepared for the posh etiquette, blusters his way into the Ritz. Kay's wealthy husband, Milton, a pen mogul of considerable influence, watches Marty with curiosity and growing irritation. Marty doesn't care. He sees their world as just another stage upon which he can perform. Marty's matches are unlike anything the traditional table tennis world has seen. He's unpredictable, erratic, flamboyant. His serves seem to defy logic, and he plays with a raw instinct that sometimes yields brilliance and other times catastrophic failure. One of his biggest breakthroughs comes when he faces the reigning champion, a stoic European player whose technique is textbook and precise. Against all expectations, Marty wins the semi-final with a burst of instinctive genius that leaves the crowd roaring. This victory feels like vindication not just of his playing ability, but of his philosophy, that instinct and flair can overpower rigid discipline. But the climactic final match introduces a new challenger, a deaf Japanese player using an unusual sponge-covered racket that gives him unpredictable bounce and spin. This opponent moves in silence, his focus elemental, his style unlike anything Marty has encountered. The match is intense, long rallies, sudden turns of fate, and explosively dramatic moments that feel like the very heartbeat of the film. In the end, Marty loses. But it's not just a loss, it's a revelation. He realizes that his confidence, which masqueraded as talent, had limits. Yet even in defeat, he commands attention. His charisma, his sheer will, make him unforgettable. After London, an unexpected opportunity arises. He's invited to tour internationally with some of his European rivals and a novelty performance troupe. Suddenly, Marty is performing all over the world with the Harlem Globetrotters like flair, exhibitions, stunt matches, novelty games that draw crowds not because of competitive respect, but because of inspired absurdity. Here, the film pivots from conventional sports drama into a surreal carnival of spectacle. Marty isn't just an athlete, he's an entertainer, a provocateur, a cultural force. While Marty's career spirals upward in bizarre, unexpected ways, his personal life unravels. Rachel, once patient and hopeful, grows weary of Marty's transient focus. He flirts with greatness but neglects responsibility. There are moments when he returns home briefly, a whirlwind of proclamations and dashed promises, but nothing sticks. His relationship with Rachel deteriorates, and the tension between his ambition and emotional commitments becomes a central conflict. Marty's connection with Kay also undergoes transformation. What began as romantic allure becomes a mirror reflecting his own insecurities. Kay is worldly, wise, and familiar with the trappings of ego and fame, and she watches Marty chase his own shadow with a mixture of fascination and concern. She understands what it is like to be defined by a public image, but she also grasps the loneliness that accompanies it. Their interactions are fraught with tenderness and regret, each encounter revealing a deeper layer of Marty's psyche, his fear of being ordinary, his hunger for significance, and his profound loneliness beneath the bravado. The film's narrative, much like Marty himself, refuses to be linear or predictable. There are sequences that feel surreal, almost like fever dreams. Crowd roars blend with silence. Matches seem interminable, blending sweat with delirium. Marty's internal monologue occasionally bleeds into the soundtrack, offering brief, disjointed glimpses of self-doubt, flashes of vulnerability that catch us off guard because Marty rarely allows himself to be that honest. He masks insecurity with arrogance, but beneath it lies a fragile longing for approval, connection, belonging. Marty's journey eventually takes him to Asia, specifically Tokyo, where table tennis isn't a novelty but a disciplined, celebrated competition. This is where the film's emotional and narrative tension peaks. Marty faces opponents who not only match his intensity, but embody a style of play rooted in tradition and precision. The game becomes metaphysical, each serve a question, each volley a reflection of Marty's inner journey. It's no longer about winning or losing, it's about whether Marty can reconcile who he believes he is with who he actually has become. The match with the Japanese champion is brutal. It's long, exhausting, and the most psychologically demanding contest Marty has faced. At moments, he seems on the verge of collapse. But then he rallies, not with physical strength, but with sheer presence, a fierce blend of instinct, emotion, and refusal to be eliminated. The final point doesn't come with conventional fanfare. It's less about the scoreboard and more about what Marty discovers about himself in the heat of battle. He realizes that winning would not fill the void. The glory would be hollow if it didn't connect back to something real. This realization reshapes Marty irrevocably. He goes from being a man fueled by ego and external approval to someone confronting the truth of his own limitations and desires. His final moments in Tokyo are quiet, almost anticlimactic in the traditional sense, but deeply profound in emotional resonance. It's a turning point that reframes his entire journey. After Tokyo, Marty returns home not with trophies, but with a new perspective. The world hasn't exploded in adulation as he once imagined. Instead, he finds a life waiting for him that's both familiar and altered. Rachel, now distant but still intertwined with his past, has a child, Marty's child. This news hits him not with shock, but with unexpected clarity. He sees a future that doesn't involve renown or spectacle, but connection and responsibility. There's no grand speech, no cinematic montage. Instead, there's a quiet scene, Marty standing with Rachel and their newborn, absorbing the stillness. His tears aren't tears of defeat, but of surrender to the gravity of life outside of constant performance. In that moment, Marty stops chasing shadows and begins to accept what's in front of him. This isn't a conventional happy ending, but it's deeper. It's a testament to growth, humility, and the paradox that sometimes the most extraordinary journey leads us back to the ordinary people we overlooked. Marty Supreme closes not on a note of triumph, but on one of transformation. Marty's dreams haven't vanished, they've evolved. He's no longer a restless force barreling through life, chasing applause. Instead, he's a man who knows what he lost in pursuit of ambition and what he gained in the process of learning to care. At its heart, Marty Supreme is more than a sports drama. It's a character study about ambition, obsession, identity, and what it means to pursue greatness in a world that rarely makes space for dreams that defy convention. Marty Mauser is both repellent and captivating, brilliant and reckless, egotistical and achingly vulnerable. He embodies the contradiction that defines so many human lives, the tension between the drive to be exceptional and the need to be connected. The film's chaotic structure mirrors Marty's psyche, unpredictable, relentless, and full of head-spinning energy. There are moments that feel comedic, moments that feel tragic, and moments that feel like pure kinetic force. These contrasts are part of what makes the story unforgettable. Furthermore, Marty's journey asks a question that lingers long after the credits roll. What price are we willing to pay for the dream we carry inside us, and what are we willing to lose to finally understand what really matters? In the end, Marty Supreme doesn't give a tidy answer. It doesn't present a perfect hero or a simple conclusion. Instead, it offers a complex portrait of a flawed dreamer who discovers that sometimes the greatest victory is not winning the crowd, but finally seeing the people we've always had beside us. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more gripping movie explanations like this.